objective of the seminar is to further enlighten Gambians, non-Gambians, those that would watch us online, to understand the nitty-gritties, the complexities of corruption and other unethical practices that we have in our private sector and in our governance structures. We lose a lot to corruption. We lose a lot to corruption. What we lose to corruption is more than what we as a country would get or benefit. So it is worship of Allah for us to spread the information, the message, so that people will understand. Because the first, most fundamental step in doing anything beneficial is letting the people understand, letting the people know that which you want them to know and that which you want them to fight for. So this is the most important seminar as far as I am concerned. And corruption, the word itself, as we might have understood or been told, the historical background dates back to somewhere the 13th century. And we will want to look at it from this perspective and see. It says the word corruption is derived from the Latin word corruptus. Because we are trying to deliver in English, we have to look at that, which means corrupted. And in legal terms, the abuse of use of a trusted position in one of the branches of power, the executive, legislative, and judicial, or in a political or other organizations with the intention of obtaining material benefit which is not legally justified for itself or for others. So basically, corruption is across the board as far as our social fabric is concerned. If you want to get something that you really do not deserve using any other means, especially illegal, because you just don't deserve it, it is not yours, it's somebody's, it's the society's, then that in itself is corruption. The fact that you, as a candidate, for example, have the knowledge, the skill set to decipher, to interpret, to tell people what corruption is so that they avoid it, and you refuse to do it, in itself is corruption. The fact that landed intellectuals in this country, like Dr. Gibba, the Auditor General, and Dr. Alieu, coupled up with this, is one of the single most important steps in fighting corruption, because it's enlightenment. And why? Because they have the authority morally, because they are educated, they understand these nitty-gritties, these dynamics. The fact that they have come up with the idea to discuss it, to talk about it, to enlighten people about it, is a noble fight, and it's a fight against corruption. So if you're a Gambian out there, for example, you know what it takes to fight about corruption, you know what it takes to enlighten people about corruption, and you fail to do so, that in itself is an act of corruption, because you are denying Gambians that we deserve from you. So corruption is based against you take it that which you don't deserve, or you denying people that we deserve. As simple as that. That's the basic. So having this conference pioneered by Dr. Gibba and then all the other presenters here is in itself Islamic, in itself Christian, because all religions in the world are against corruption. You know it or you don't. So this is noble, and thank you for taking the time to attend this seminar. I only hope you will be patient enough to learn from these intellectuals of our time who are ready to take up the noble job of sensitizing, of talking about, of educating, of enlightening people regarding corruption, and that which is expected of us as citizens, and that which is expected from the government as far as our living is concerned, our governance is concerned, and all the other facets of our society concerned. On that note, I would like to invite the first speaker, who is going to be Dr. Alieu Gibba. Now, a brief bio of Dr. Alieu Gibba.
I did not send it for you. I don't know where.
Yeah, you don't need introduction.
I was trying to work on it, but I'm fixing it.
Okay, it's fine. But what I mean is you don't even need introduction. I think I can say something. Yes, doctor is a public face. If you are in the Gambia or outside, there is that high probability that you have come across his face on Facebook, on newspaper pages. If also you have passed to the UTG, he doesn't need any introduction. He is a consultant. That's one aspect of it. He is a senior lecturer at the UTG, former president of the staff union of University of the Gambia, and a patriotic citizen, and that's the most important. A patriotic citizen. Patriotism is not about occupying office, being a minister, being the president, being the legislator. No, it's about your acts. It's about your impact. It's about your influence. It's about you being ready to speak out when the need arises. It's about you being ready to contribute in whatever way positively towards the growth and the building of the nation, of humanity, of mankind. Above all else, spreading the word of Allah. So Doc does not need any introduction. If the Gambia has to go, he is one of the people that young people especially, should emulate, because that is what it takes. You don't have to have knowledge and sit over it or sit on it, and you don't spread it. No. And that is why, even though my Islamic knowledge is not that theoretical, one thing I remember and one thing I know is you are only ustaz if you are spreading the word. Even if you know the whole Quran and you're saying nothing, to me, you are not ustaz. Because the beauty is telling people what Allah told you to tell people, or what you've been taught to remind people. So if you don't do that, you are not. And that is why we are saying he does not need any introduction, because he is not only keeping his knowledge to himself, he is serving the country and other places, different universities at American International University, other colleges, MBI. He is spreading the word, he is teaching. Even his dress tells you he is a Muslim, and you can emulate that. So it's not only teaching or telling people do this, do that. It is manifested in the way he dresses. It is manifested in the way he interacts with people. That alone is eye-opening. That alone is life-changing for those that are observant. So that is Dr. Gibba for you. Thank you. Welcome.
You like with that? You understand? So this is very common here. People will have projects, and then the project will be completed. Let's say $64 million project for 9 years. They just spent maybe $30 million. The rest, they say, let's divide it. Because I interacted with one of the seasoned civil servants in this country, who once narrated a story when he was working one of the ministries here in the Gambia. They had sponsorship from a project. There was a project that was financed by IMF or World Bank. Then the remaining money, they told you, well, we know that we cannot do anything without passing through you. This is what remains. We want to divide it. The person is very religious. He started these madrasa studies before going to school. There was light that enters the person's heart so that now he can see the truth. Even when you study religious studies like Christian religious studies, you should be able to get the light, the track light, to show you that this is legal and this is illegal. So the person said, I'm not part of it. If you want, you can divide it, but don't put my name. If you put my name, I'm going to expose everybody. So they decided to remove his name and divide the money. That money they have divided, it belongs to you, it belongs to me, it belongs to our children, it belongs to even the children in the womb of their parents. Even generations to come, if at all they are going to be affected directly because of your act of corruption, you will be sinful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge you in the day of judgment. I always use this example. If people truly believe what is waiting for them in the hereafter, even if they see $15 million is on the desk, they will not even touch it. If they touch it, they will take it to the police. And this is an attitude in AC. In Taiwan, where I studied, they don't pick money in most cases. If the party picks money, he's going to take it to the police. Otherwise, he's just leave it there. These are values that we need here in the Gambia. Everybody's talking about corruption. Everybody is concerned about corruption. Everybody's worried. And it's true. That's what's taking us back. Corruption in the health sector, corruption in the education sector, corruption in the military, corruption in the police, corruption in civil and public service in general. Even in the private sector, there was a time the Minister of Finance came and said, it's not only public servants who are corrupt, even the private sector. Yeah, I heard him saying this. He said, even the private sector are corrupt. A Minister of Finance saying this. That's the level we have reached in this country. So it is a concern. So therefore, that money was divided. And we will be judged in the day of judgment across the board because we have affected generations even yet to come. If you hurt somebody, the judgment between you and him the day of judgment, Allah will not forgive you unless justice is served. In this world or tomorrow, using your good deeds or taking the bad deeds of that person, if you don't have good deeds, to be in your account. Just one individual. What about a community of, let's say, the Fullers? What about a community of Syrians? You wrong them. You take their well. Allah happens to judge you and them and generations to come. There's a problem. Much more than taking the wealth that involves or that belongs to the whole country. And you're hoping that when you die, they will do fidao. Fidao for you. Allah will forgive you. Allah will not forgive you. You have to return the money and then seek forgiveness. Then you will be forgiven. Even sometimes, sorry to say, if you think that when you die, people will just pray for you, the Almighty will forgive you. When they gather and start making fidao, they say astaghfirullah 100 times. Do you know the meaning of astaghfirullah? Who knows the meaning of astaghfirullah? It means, oh Allah, forgive him or forgive me. Now they are seeking forgiveness for themselves. They have taken your money. You think that you can fool God? That is impossible. Astaghfirullah, forgive me. That's why when you finish your prayer, you say it 3 times. They are seeking forgiveness for themselves and they have taken your money. They have paid them. They have gone. You are in trouble. So the solution is to stay away from it. It's illegal. I don't think whether any conscious Muslim or any conscious Christian will be involved in this act of corruption. Because as he said, all our religions have banned this unhealthy and filthy act, which is happening every time. So embezzlement is happening. And people doing it, they pray 5 times a day sometimes. I don't know whether they didn't believe what is coming after, but it's very dangerous. We have to stay away from this. The other one is nepotism. For example, you favor somebody based on friendship or family ties. This is also very common. Even the person has no knowledge, that person is going to destroy or contribute towards the destruction of that country, the downfall of that country, because we are doing nepotism. You are favoring somebody, a friend or a colleague or a family member, which is very dangerous and is a very common act of corruption in all our government institutions. Sometimes I see when I read what's on Gambia, I don't know how true it is. They accuse the institutions like DRA. It's a kind of a family, whatever. I don't know how true it is, but nobody can rule it out. Nobody can rule it out because it's happening in our countries, in our institutions. Right? So nepotism is also very bad. You have to give the person what the person deserves. If the person is well versed in certain areas, give it to him. It's even happening in many institutions. For example, you favor people who are not critical against you. People who are critical against you, they try to sideline you. Recently, you heard about the issues that we have raised at the university, which is very common there. The institution that is responsible for reforming the society. There is no justice, there is no governance, proper governance happening in that institution. But with time, hopefully things will be corrected. So nepotism, embezzlement of public funds, we have them already in our institution, which is very serious. We have what we call kickbacks. I love this name so much. Kickback. How does it happen? is the payment of a percentage of the value of a contract or business transaction to someone in a position of power or influence, often as a reward. Kickback. For example, they can, it's somehow related to inflated contracts anyway. We supposed to paint this building, and we know the cost of this building is, let's say, $1.5 million just to renovate the building. We said, okay, since we are the board, let's just approve $8 million. It's happening. It's happening. I don't know whether you understand. I'm giving $8 million as an example, but it's happening here. I think the Auditor General will be able to help us, even without naming the institutions. As I said, we are not targeting anybody here, but it's something that is happening. So that $8 million, they'll just remove $1.5 million and share the rest of the money. It's cheating, it's corruption, it's illegal, and it is not permissible. So you have to be ready to refund the money in this world or in the hereafter. So kickbacks, they're very common. You have inflated contracts. For example, this happens mostly with these procurement officers. They can go and get something from, let's say, from these shops that we have here, the Lebanese shop or the Indians or the Pakistan or even Gambian shops. Something that costs $10 million is, they said, now, can we agree to make it $20 million? We said, okay, no problem. We can write the receipt. And then the other $10 million, you pocket it. You will unpocket it in the day of judgment with your good deeds. If you don't have good deeds, they will take bad deeds and put it into your account. At the end of the day, you'll be in trouble. Okay? So that is happening. I don't know whether auditors normally detect that. Whenever, as far as the receipt is supplied, I don't know whether they normally accept it anyhow, or they go further to investigate whether that's the real value. I know I'm not going to prolong my speech. Very soon I will just summarize it. We also have what we call fraud, which is very common here, and political corruption. Political corruption, assigning ministerial position to people who don't deserve to be there. For example, assigning, mayoral position for people who don't deserve to be there or to contest for the mayoral election. And the list goes on. We have a lot of them. We have some politicians who normally bring their family ties or their relatives or their tribe closer to them so that they can be more loyal to them, which is a very bad practice, which is taking the African continent backward. We have what we call administrative corruption also. We have abuse of power. We have bribery. We have money laundering. You have the lack of transparency as well. So this administrative corruption also is happening. It happens in board members, for example, since they have the authority to approve some of their contracts or some of these allowances, they can just say, look, we are in authority, so let's agree to increase our salaries. And then they will approve it because it's the approving authority. So then when that happens, it amounts to act of corruption at the expense of the population. We have a lot of them here, but inshallah, I'll just summarize what I've just mentioned here. Corruption, we know, is a bad practice. What it does, it takes countries backward and is very dangerous in your life and also dangerous towards your family. We have recently seen somebody, I don't know how true it is. It's an information anyway. For me, I read, but I don't consider it to be truthful until and unless I verify from the other side. We have seen recently that someone stole $20 million. 20 million. I think you have seen it. It was something that was published by Watson Gambia. $20 million. I don't know whether it's not $20. It's 20 million, as I said. But people are stealing more than that. Projects that was millions of US dollars, they just come and disappear like that. So this is very common in the country. So on a final note, I would just like to give a golden advice or an important advice to the audience and to myself as citizens of this country. Let us try to learn and study our religion. Whether you're Muslim or you're Christian, do the right thing. If you don't study your religion, you will not be able to see the light. Religion is light. It shows you what to do and what not to do. You are in office, you are using the official telephone to call your relatives. If you are religious and God-fearing, you will not do that because it doesn't belong to you. Look at the life of Umar ibn Abdulaziz. If you hear you read the story of this great Khalifa, you'll be shocked. So even when you invite people to your office and light is on, the fan is on, you are talking about official matters, you can leave it there. But if you are talking about personal matters, you have to switch off the light and switch off the fan because you are not talking about office-related matters. Are we doing that? No. We use our telephones and call other people, our relatives. The office man is normal. You will repay all this in the day of judgment. Because you cannot say, Astaghfirullah, Allah forgive me, and then you escape. It belongs to somebody. We call in and then say, Astaghfirullah. So I think opinion leaders, including the religious leaders, cultural leaders, have to contribute towards the fight against corruption in this country. Because they are very important pillar in this country. We all have to do that so that now we can escape and save our country. We hope that we have learned something useful from
Corruption affects everyone and all times. Today, tomorrow, our kids, even those that are unborn. Taking that which you do not actually deserve is corruption. Leaving the lights and other appliances or using other appliances in private, personal, or family matter against the public interest is an act of corruption. Studying our religion is one way we fight corruption because religion tells us what to do and what not to do. As such, it is light, and it is the light by which we can move easily, smoothly to our final destination. Our astaghfirullah and whatever does not solve the problem. The problem is, it is not astaghfirullah that affected the people. It is you and what you have taken. Give that back to the people who deserve it, and your astaghfirullah will be accepted. Otherwise, that cannot intercede for you between you and your sins on the judgment of Allah. So as Muslims, as non-Muslims, there is this, which is our fitrah. God made us in a way that we should be able to know what is good from what is bad. So whether you're a Muslim or not, let us try to make sure we serve in the interest of the public. If you are in your home and you are not acting properly, giving your wife what she deserves, is also corruption. If your wife is not giving you what you deserve, it's also corruption because it is illegal. It is something that does not actually promote peaceful coexistence. And that is why in his speech, he has made mention of the fact that it destroys and affects everyone. Because in our marriages, there is corruption. In our private lives. He has also made mention of types of corruptions. Embezzlement is part of it. But he has said, in fact, you have public and private. You have grand and petty corruption. You have conventional, you have unconventional. You have supply and demand. So it's a whole lot of, complexities, dynamics as far as the word corruption is concerned. And you can have synonyms to it. Dishonesty itself is corruption. Misappropriation is corruption. He talks about contracts. He talks about, kickbacks. Very common. Very common. But this all cannot happen if we are really followers of the deen that Allah has instructed us to follow. And that is why his golden advice is, let us study our religions. A Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or whatever. No religion on earth supports, encourages corruption. Thank you, Dr. Gibba, for this inspiring and eye-opening deliberation on corruption.